14 drivers are finally in for a stretch that challenges even the best of competitors for a prize unlike any other. Tonight, though, it's the first obstacle to get to glory, and it comes in the form of a tango with the lady in black. We're live from the virtual Darlington Raceway in Darlington, South Carolina. We welcome you to coverage of the very first playoff race in the WORC Dynamo Designs National Series season and the Matrix Designs Southern 200 live on the KBueno Racing Network. Anticipation building for what will be the first batch of paving on the road to a championship, and we'll have it all right here. We're up atop the broadcast booth from Darlington Raceway. My name is Kenneth Bueno. Unfortunately, no Keelan Belsha here tonight. It's not going to be a dynamic duo this time around. Just me up at the broadcast booth as we get set for the start of these WORC Dynamo Designs National Series playoffs. We've taken our trip through 10 different rounds to figure out which drivers are most consistent. We've seen a handful of different winners already through the campaign. But of course, the 14 that were able to either point their way in through consistency or win their way in through maximizing their point situation, obviously going to have them all mesh together here, starting at one of the toughest tracks on the NASCAR circuit. We'll start, of course, with the stage that we'll be seeing here for the start of the playoffs. We'll take a look overhead at our KBueno track map with images provided by Google Earth. And if you look at a tough racetrack, if you look at a daunting venue that is very hard to drive, then you have to look no further than the Darlington Raceway, located in Darlington, South Carolina, one of the oldest tracks in NASCAR history. It was born back in 1950 as a racing track with 1.366 miles to cover 2.198 kilometers around this racing venue. You'll find 23 to 25 degrees of banking at every single turn, 23 degrees in 3 and 4, 25 degrees in turns 1 and 2, and then 2 to 3 degrees all the way on the straightaways. This is a very interesting track. It's a very different track to any that you usually visit on the NASCAR calendar. That's exactly what makes it so special. That's why this race is called the Southern 200. It's a take back to the Southern 500 name that currently is the name of the NASCAR Cup Series race whenever they come here to this track over usually into the fall. Tonight we're going to be talking about a lot of storylines, a lot of drivers in the point standings, and then some throwback schemes as well. It is Darlington after all. We're going to have a lot of throwback schemes to many different iconic brands, iconic drivers, iconic race cars from back in the day, and we'll be delighted to bring you all of that as we continue through what's going to be a great round through the playoffs. Let's get you through who exactly is going to be part of the top 14 to run for a championship. We'll go through 3 different rounds. We'll deduct 14 to 9 after the first handful of races, and then we'll cut the 9 all the way down to your championship 4 that'll run for the entire championship all the way at the end of it all. Josh Patterson, with pure consistency and a win, virtue of last week at the Volusia Raceway, was able to take the pole away in terms of the playoff standings. He's going to be leading the entire field of championship eligible drivers going into tonight. Gino Merrill, Garrett White among the drivers that either have won races in the case of Merrill or have not won races but have done well over the course of the season in the form of Garrett White. Garrett White so far in a tangle with Timmy Spatz, and there is a kind of 5-way or even more than 5-way tie for 5th. Hunter Collier, Brayson Collins, Shane Fuller, Connor Hervilla, Ryan Martin, Jay Mulder, DJ Powell, Logan Pugh, Frederick Seagraves, and Mason Sweet. Mason Sweet was one of the last ones to point his way in. Frederick Seagraves also found his way in via last week at Volusia Raceway Park, where we kind of had a lot of discussions about whether they were able to make it all the way through and potentially give themselves a shot at the title. So those are the drivers, that is the stage, and as we continue, we're going to close in on practice. Actually, we do have about 5 minutes of qualifying, so we have a little more time to kill in terms of what we're going to do here from Darlington Raceway. It is a 95-lap race, so we'll go a little distance here, but this race should not last more than at least 45 minutes if we go green start to finish. And there are a lot of characteristics about this racetrack that we have to cover. Of course, mention the different banking in 1 and 2 versus 3 and 4. You kind of have to treat this race like 2 different racetracks. You got to go into 1 and 2. A lot of momentum there with the higher banking. You're going to be taking a lot more speed, but you also have to make sure you can get out of what is a pretty narrow exit of turn 2. Make sure you don't slap the outside wall. You can get as much throttle as you can out to the exit of the back straightaway. Turns 3 and 4, though, a lot slower, but a lot of drivers want to stay up high in the 23 degrees of banking. You can use any of the lanes if you wish, but that outside lane just against the wall, very treacherous, but it is very fast. So there is kind of a risk reward there, kind of a double-edged sword. You either get up there and be very fast, or you get up there and make a mistake. You could hit the outside wall and get an infamous Darlington stripe. We'll talk about all of that as we move in throughout tonight's coverage. Of course, mention a lot of the throwback schemes that you'll be seeing here in tonight's race. Here's one of them. It's a last car throwback to many of the drivers that used to have backmarker cars. As Logan Pugh comes in for a stop, I believe he will try and reset his qualifying effort. This is in tribute to lastcar.com, which is fielded by Brock Beard. If you know him on YouTube, also a narrator at NASCAR Man History on the YouTube channel, and also had a series called Rise of the Field Fillers, which is right on the side on each quarter panel side of that 01 Ford Mustang. Logan Pugh going to put in his 2 fastest laps. Here's another very good-looking throwback, a very eye-popping one from Mason Sweet, one of the playoff drivers with the orange banner and the orange spoiler and the splitter. You'll see that from all the playoff drivers tonight. That is how you'll distinguish the championship-eligible ones from the ones that are still just running for momentum at the end of this. Mason Sweet, that is a spam paint scheme as he actually takes top of the board there in qualifying, so great for him. There's Christian Visconti, a multiple-time winner this season, and I don't think you need any introduction as to what that paint scheme is a tribute to. Dale Earnhardt Jr.'s 2014 National Guard paint scheme, which he took to the win in the Daytona 500 to start that season in the NASCAR Cup Series. We'll touch on a lot more of those iconic throwback schemes to either family members, to themselves, to their favorite race car drivers, or to other iconic paint schemes in NASCAR history. So right now, we're about 2 minutes and 15 seconds shy of our start of the green flag. We're still trying to decipher who exactly is going to be part of our front row. And for the rest of the field tonight, we've had a lot of different winners throughout this season. We started the campaign at Daytona in the regular season. Benjamin A. White took a very interesting win, and it took a little bit of chaos, took a little bit of disordinance in order to get into a race-winning decision. But Benjamin A. White was the winner there. Christian Visconti, we just saw him wrap up his qualifying effort. He won 2 races in a row after that at both Atlanta and Kansas. He has yet to win a race since, and unfortunately, Visconti not going to be a part of the playoffs this season. Parker White has taken 2 wins in the campaign, one right after Visconti's win at Kansas. That was at Phoenix. And then we continued our West Coast swing through Las Vegas and through Auto Club, where Gino Mera was able to hold off the field in the final laps at Las Vegas. And then Auto Club, a great pass, a scintillating one by Joe Berge in the inside of 3 and 4, was able to make that move on the last lap to win, and that's the last time I believe we've seen him on the racetrack. Austin Doran then kind of went on a hot streak, won the race at Irwindale, finished well at Road America, where Parker White took his second win, and then Austin Doran came back with a vengeance at Indianapolis, was able to take away his second win of the campaign. And then it was the wild card just 1 week ago at the Volusia Raceway Park to decide who was going to get into the top 14 in regular season points. It was Josh Patterson who will lead the field in the championship run, and going into tonight, that win very pivotal for his car and his team in order to try and continue a road for a championship. There will be a lot of races to follow after Darlington tonight, so this won't be the only marquee track you'll see in the schedule, Bristol being one of them. The week after, on March 3rd, we'll head to a super speedway, the only one in the playoff calendar, at Talladega. We'll head to kind of a wild card in the Midwest at Iowa in race 14. We'll head to Nashville, Charlotte, and then of course the finale at Homestead Miami Speedway. So we'll have all that coverage for you right here on the KBueno Racing Network, week in and week out. But as we tick down the time on qualifying, we'll hit to the final 10 seconds. Everybody for sure already taking their fastest 2, already set in, and already building up for what's going to be a fantastic race here in its very first entrant into the WORC Dynamo Designs National Series season. So drivers manning up on the grid just behind the iRacing official pace car. That means it is our time to take a look at your starting grid, see exactly which driver and your favorite driver will be lining up here tonight from the track to Tough to Tame. On pole is Parker White, 2-time winner this season. We'll look for a trifecta tonight in his Toyota Care Toyota Supra. He lines up at 29.639, the fastest out of anyone in the field. We saw Mason Sweet put up a very solid time. It is good enough for second, though. The Spam car will start on the outside of the first row. 2-time winner Austin Doran will also look for a third. He'll line up behind the other 2-time winner this season. He'll be in third. Mitch Hobbs, though, returning after a little bit of absence from this series. He lines up the outside of row number 2. Christian Visconti, also 2-time winner this season. He'll go for the third. He'll start in the inside of the top 5. Sartaj Mon, the first time we see the 971 and Sartaj Mon's name in this WORC Dynamo Designs National Series. He'll line up the outside of that third row in P6. Logan Pugh, Garrett White, a pair of playoff drivers in row number 4. You'll find them there before you find Shane Fuller and Jay Mulder, another handful of playoff competitors looking for the title. They start both 9th and 10th. Kevin White Jr. in the 38 will roll off P11. Hunter Collier, another playoff driver. He'll be in the 98 in P12. To his outside, Timmy Spatz, Connor Hervilla, the 44, and the 20 will be the drivers in row number 7 through 13th and 14th. Lucas Lyons, Pierce Maff will be the drivers in row number 8 before you find Jeremy Lapinus in the number 64 and Ryan Martin in the 9 car back to P18. Frederick Seagraves had a lot of work to do from P19. Same deal for league owner Racing Collins, who started the outside of row 10. Henry Clappert is 21st. He is the last driver to take qualifying time tonight, but there are a lot more drivers in this field. Josh Patterson, mentioned him, won last week, is the playoff leader. He's starting P22, so a lot of work for him. Same deal for the fellow driver to his outside in Gino Mera. Actually, Gino Mera to the inside of the row behind, in row number 12. DJ Powell will be in 24th to his outside. First time we see Glenn Bundren. It's been a while. Good to see him back on the racetrack in the top 25 on qualifying. Ethan Workman, Clayton Riff will be back to 27th. 28th will be Steven Shipman in the 999. Nick Penna, Brandon Sampson, TJ Lear, and Quentin Haley rounds out a full 32 car field from the Darlington Raceway. So safe to say, a lot of drivers here for this playoff opener. It means a lot more points at stake for the playoff drivers. could mean some positive news if they can get it done and get around them and be able to use the points to leverage into their advantage. But it could be very detrimental if they find themselves into trouble with people who are not playoff drivers. Of course, mentioned in qualifying, we'll mention it one more time. If you want to distinguish either of the playoff competitors that are running for the title, you just look for those orange windshield banners, the orange spoilers, and the orange splitters. That will give you the distinction as to who's running for the title and who is not. Very good look at the front row can tell you the story. Parker White with a normal Xfinity Series banner. Mason Sweet, playoff driver, with the orange Dynamo banner on the top of his windshield. It's a beautiful day here in Sim. We're ready to kick off the playoffs with Parker White and Mason Sweet to your front row. Pace car makes its way to the entrance of pit road for the very first time. It's a Supra and a Camaro, non-playoff driver to the green flag. Round of 14 underway from Darlington. One car around, it looked like Mitch Hobbs immediately alt F4 to get out of harm's way. There was a bit of damage to a majority of the field, although we will stay in the first lap under green flag circumstances. Parker White is your leader by just a little bit over Mason Sweet, Austin Doran, Sartaj Ma, and Christian Visconti lines up your current top 5. It was a bit of a messy first 2 corners for the entire field. Nonetheless, I think everybody was able to keep it clean, and Parker White, despite seeing some of the drama on his windshield, able to keep the lead just in front of the 56. So a 3-car train up at the front of the field. Parker White trying to fend off 2 of the stronger drivers in the entire series so far. Mason Sweet, Austin Doran, of course, mentioned a handful of 2-time winners this season. And 2 of the top 3 are involved in that campaign. Mason Sweet, not a winner in this season just yet, has been very close to doing so. And his 56 just trying to tail behind the 95 in the opening laps here as we try to complete lap number 3. A majority of the field have pretty much already simmered through single file. It doesn't seem to be too much commotion amongst the entire grouping. Here's a look at Frederick Seagraves, playoff driver. That's a Tony Stewart paint scheme as he works to the inside of Brayson Collins, and he'll turn him around slightly. Collins will be able to save it and will stay green. Remember, Collins and Seagraves, both playoff drivers running for the championship. And that is not the way Collins wants to start his race in his throwback number 5. So he'll fall back. Frederick Seagraves also does the same. He'll kind of simmer out just a little bit. With the top 3 not breaking away as far. 4th on back is trying to take position away. Now here comes Visconti. That's a pass to the inside, at least an attempted pass to the bottom as you're right on board here with the Dale Jr. throwback. Trying to cram in on the 49, but that time the outside just too powerful. There's Garrett White, the driver who came in 3rd in the point standings of the playoffs. He is now moved into the top 5 for the very first time tonight. On a big slap on the wall there by Mon. He's going to fall significantly. There's Visconti, and it looks like Logan Pugh in the last car Ford Mustang is also going to try to take advantage. And you see there is some of the heavy front-end damage on the right side of that Toyota Supra. Just trying to make sure you can get as much of the exit there out of the second corner of the back straightaway, but just does not work in your favor, especially when you push the car a little bit too tight. Mon, though, for the moment is going to hold on to 5th as Logan Pugh and Christian Visconti going to fall through behind Garrett White, already making that pass complete. So for the first 7, looks as though there's been a bit of commotion, a bit of drama, a lot of carnage, at least for the moment, but a majority of the field have kind of single filed out for the most part. Some of them hitting the wall, some of them falling out, some of them getting damaged already early on in this race. At least for a majority of the leaders, doesn't seem to be too big. Actually, never mind. Mom will be putting the outside wall in 1 and 2. That was Logan Pugh that got into it trying to make that pass. And that's one thing about this Darlington Raceway you really have to watch out for, is just how narrow this racing surface is. If you look in 3 and 4, and also when we come back to 1 and 2, the white dash line on the bottom of the track, that's the barrier between the racing surface, the banking in the corner versus the absolute apron. And as Logan Pugh trying to make the pass on the bottom, just slid up way too high, slammed into Sartaj Vaughn's machine. And now Mon, he pulls it to pit road. He is 21st and diving, pretty much plummeting through the field. Not a good jump in the first 9 laps for the debut driver tonight in Sartaj Mon. Meanwhile, it's been a very clean opening 9 for Parker White. He's already eclipsed a 0.6 of a second gap to Mason Sweet. And so while Sweet is going to have to play some defense on Austin Doran, the number 095, much like many of the races we've seen him in, pulling away so far. So White will complete lap 10. And you watch the rest of the field. There's Quentin Haley, who started way deep in the field back in 32nd. He has since clawed up to P20 and trying to catch up to the likes of Brandon Sampson, Ethan Workman, and Quentin Haley, one of the star drivers over at Volusia Raceway Park just 1 week ago. Was in contention for the race win, got caught up in an incident, but still managed to finish well. And Quentin Haley trying to replicate that success. Haley not a playoff driver, but still nonetheless a very solid run over the course of the season to try and get into the championship. There's Lucas Lyons, a pass here on Ryan Martin. That is for 12th. Glenn Bungeon will follow suit in the same manner, and the Ryan Martin machine, a very good-looking throwback to the Reese's car. If you can remember, Kevin Harvick in his 29 RCR machine used to have Reese's on the sides and the front everywhere on his race car back in the day in the NASCAR Nextel Cup Series, as it was called. And a very good-looking scheme out of Ryan Martin, although not a good look for him as he looks in the rearview mirror. Shane Fuller in a Sunoco throwback just behind, trying to take position away. There's Glenn Bungeon inside P12 on Lucas Lyons in turn 1. Pass complete on behalf of Glenn Bungeon. He'll move up to 12th. And Lyons will have to fall back just a bit. So look forward to the top 10. Here's a potential battle on the cards. That is the 98, Hunter Collier. He's trying to creep in on P6. That is Connor Hervilla, fellow playoff driver just in front of him. And that's a move to the inside for a moment. Collier will back out, and he'll wait for the next moment to shine as Kevin White Jr. may be the next on the blocks to take position away if they make any mistakes. So, as we're seeing so far, throughout a majority of the field over the first 14, no cautions. We have stayed green up until this point, but of course many drivers already with damage, many hitting the outside wall, many hitting each other on the entrance of the corners trying to make passes. And at this moment, all about setting your rhythm, as again the 98 of Collier will look to the inside. That will be a pass for 6. If he can get it done, he'll back out again in 1 and 2. Kevin White will be the next driver on the chopping block, making sure he can maybe get some positions here. And Kevin White yet to win a race here in this WORC Dynamo Designs National Series. He'll tag the outside wall just a hair. And all the progress he made on the 98, pretty much all for nothing at the moment. So we talk about a lot of the paint schemes here in this WORC Dynamo Designs National Series race from Darlington. Here is a look at your current playoff leader. That is Josh Patterson, as he's getting swept up here almost by the 12th place car of Glenn Bungeon in the 061. He's going to try to catch up here, but the 02 Patterson posted this in the Darlington Throwback channel on the Discord server, said this is a throwback to his quarter midget 10 years ago. So Patterson, one of the real-life racers, has taken himself behind the wheel of a race car in real life as well as in the sim. A very simple scheme, one that definitely means a lot, and that is a testament to just how far you can stretch it creatively on the throwback scheme. You can do a throwback to yourself, throwback to your parent, throwback to your relative, throwback to any driver you like in NASCAR or IndyCar or any other series whatsoever. As here's a pass for 2nd. It's Austin Doran there to the inside to make that pass completed, as they're now falling 3 seconds short of your race leader, Parker White. Austin Doran able to make that pass, and now he's going to try and chase him down. Mason Sweet now under fire from fellow playoff driver in Garrett White. And our first caution comes out this time by, and to slow the field down, we had our first handful lap screen. It looks like maybe Pierce Maffett involved in the incident. He is falling through the field. There's the 41 car, severely torn up on the right side, on the rear end as well. Pierce Maffett, of course, part of the main sponsorship for tonight's race. Matrix Designs, the colors on his Camaro this evening. As of lap 18, brings out the first yellow of tonight's 95 lap feature. So we'll try to get confirmation as to whether Maffett was the cause, and indeed he was. Take a look at it here at a turn 4. This is an attempted pass here on Kevin White, who did eventually get up to the 20 of Connor Hervilla. 38 and 20, make a bit of contact coming out of turn 4. Actually, they go around and then tag the 41 on the way there as he tries to go around. See here on board with the 41. Looks like the 20 and the 38. 38 just slides up as they're coming out of turn 4 to the front straightaway. Contact is made and Maffett gets collected in the mess as a bystander. And nowhere for Maffett to go. Kevin White Jr. and Connor Hervilla in that incident. Of course, Connor Hervilla, a playoff driver this evening and throughout the rest of the season. There you can see some of the heavy front end and rear end damage to his Camaro. And there are no fast repairs here in this WORC Dynamo Designs National Series. So if you do get damage, it's all about having to pay the time on pit road. And so for the number 20 car, currently sitting in P8 right now, it is not going to look good whatsoever as he comes to a halt to his pit box. We'll try to make sure he can assess as much of the damage as possible. And it is not looking good for the driver of the 20. There's Mason Sweet, first car out of pit road. Looks like Christian Visconti was one of the drivers to end up staying out. Indeed, he will. So Visconti will either second guess his decision here or will double down. Will stay out here as lap number 20, our first caution coming out here at Darlington Raceway. Much more to come here as we continue our Matrix Design Southern 200 from the virtual Darlington Raceway. Christian Visconti, your race leader, staying out from pit road. We'll have coverage on the other side. Continuing here from Darlington Raceway, you're watching the WORC Dynamo Designs National Series live on the KBueno Racing Network.
We've been waiting for this moment. Generations of innovation all coming together in one place. A pedigree of more than 70 years of NASCAR Cup Series history, from the past to the present, from Petty to Earnhardt to Elliott. Today, there's no more waiting. The future of NASCAR is now. Drive the next-gen cars today on iRacing and step into the next generation of racing.
Back live for the Matrix Design Southern 200 here from the virtual Darlington Raceway as we continue our coverage on the KBueno Racing Network. Kenneth Bueno here in the broadcast booth to bring you all of the action. Just came over a restart here, lap number 23 of 95 after a first caution involved Kevin White Jr. in the 38, the 20 of Connor Hervilla, and the 41 of Pierce Maffin. Mason Sweet, who had the fastest pit stop out of anyone on pit road that last time by, took a gamble, and now all of a sudden he's fallen to 5th. Parker White just was quick, wasted no time to move for the race lead, and so the 095, much like he started this race, he will still remain at the front. This time Austin Doran, Garrett White will be the host of characters now in 2nd and 3rd. Hunter Collier has since moved into 4th. There's a battle though for, I believe, around P6 on the racetrack. Indeed there is. That is the 44 Timmy Spatz. Playoff driver Ethan Workman there on the inside as one car got turned around. That was Shane Fuller. He's able to save it on the very inside of the racetrack underneath the surface. And somehow the orange playoff banner machine does not get any damage. Almost could have been disastrous there for the Camaro. But as he continues to lose on track position, I think he would much rather have that instead of a junked race car. That was very close for the driver of the 57 in Shane Fuller. Take a look at it. This is a battle between himself and Christian Visconti going into turn 1. And it looks like either Visconti just found better speed to the middle, or Shane Fuller just could not find the entrance. You see here, that was the pass there by Timmy Spatz, Ethan Workman. I think right there just got better through the center of the corner, just got into the rear of the 57. And what a great job Fuller did to save that race car and kept it out of harm's way as well. Shane Fuller, he's fallen back to 13th. But still, car is alive, car is well, and he'll be able to continue. That's the most important part, especially if you're a playoff driver. He's not going to like the fact that Garrett White, who's the at least 3rd highest playoff driver in the standings, he is your leader as the caution will come out once again, and it's playoff driver Jay Mulder involved. Jay Mulder, that's a waste management throwback for the 51 tonight, the Light Made triple winner a couple of weeks back at Irwindale. And we continue to have more playoff driver drama here from Darlington as we'll try to take a look at exactly what happened. So there's Fuller there, just in front of Mulder. That's the 71 of Gino Merrill, and there's the 01 of Logan Pugh. So these are all playoff drivers here. And it all started with DJ Powell, looked like in front of the group, just got loose. Just had big troubles there in the turn 1 and 2. Checked up the race car. Fuller hit the wall, and as they were all slowing down, Logan Pugh there got to the bottom, slanting into the rear end of the 68. Then got into Jay Mulder, and then as Mulder was trying to hop on the brakes to avoid, it just got so much harder when everybody started packing in. Here's on board with the 51 going into 1 and 2. There's Merrill, and then Pugh will show up on the very left side. There's nowhere that Mulder could go whatsoever, and Mulder, despite suffering the worst end of it, it seems, he will most likely be okay. Would spend a little bit of time on pit road to get that car repaired, but it won't be terminal damage here in terms of the 51. There's the 57 of Fuller. He also struck the outside wall significantly before the contact. Over the front, there's Mulder there. He'll hop into his stall. He'll come to a complete stop. There's Timmy Spatz on pit road. There's playoff driver Josh Patterson. There's Quentin Haley, who we've seen so far as the biggest mover tonight in this Matrix Design Southern 200. They're all going to come down pit road. For a majority of the leaders, though, they will stay out. So we'll have a majority of the drivers up front not going to elect for service. Maybe Parker White will choose to do so here, although it doesn't look like it'll be the case. Maybe in an effort to save fuel. Heard Mason Sweet was hopping onto the clutch pedal and trying to coast a little bit, maybe save some fuel. It looks like Parker White just trying to not have the banking there in order to save as much fuel as possible. So we'll keep an eye on exactly what the situation for gas is on a majority of the field as we cross the line for lap 30 of 95. We'll go one more time before we will get the official 1 to green signal. So as we continue on through tonight's Matrix Designs Southern 200 from the virtual Darlington Raceway, we'll take a moment to remind you that coverage of the WORC Dynamo Designs National Series is brought to you by Dynamo Designs, your one-stop shop for all of your iRacing design needs. They can cater to any style you like and can ensure you will look good on track, all starting at just $5 per scheme. Message Josh Patterson on Discord at Josh Patterson #9212 or on Facebook at JP Designs to get him working on your iRacing design today. So Parker White will lead us back to the green flag. It appears like will not make any move down pit road anytime soon. Austin Dorn will follow through to the outside. Two of the two-time winners this season looking for a third. Garrett White looking for his first there. Also as a playoff competitor, he is third. Mason Sweet follows through behind after falling back to fifth on the restart. He is fourth this time by. Mason Sweet will lock up, or rather Hunter Collier will lock up the top 5. And then Ethan Workman will be 6th. Jeremy Lapinus in the 64. Great move up to the field for this driver here. He is 7th. Brandon Sampson is 8th. Gino Mero is 9th. And Christian Visconti, who just got in, Shane Fuller there in a 1 and 2. He wraps up your current top 10. So 1 green signal on the iRacing official pace truck. Parker White continues to stay on the apron, probably in an attempt to save some fuel here. And indeed, that is the answer right there. Resounding yes. No revs out of the Toyota Supra. Just using the apron there to flatten the car out, make sure that the fuel can stay stationary in the middle and not kind of hang to the left or right side of the banking, as we'll go double file and Parker will have to now hop onto the revs in order to maximize this restart here with a fellow Supra just behind him. Also, let's talk about the weather here tonight from Darlington. Didn't really get a chance to talk about it before we got green. It is a very cool 70-degree afternoon, or rather evening here in South Carolina. Winds to the south at about 1 to 2 miles per hour, so no impact in terms of exit out of turn 2 or turn 4. Got no humidity, no fog. It's a partly cloudy evening here as the sun sets over Darlington, South Carolina. It's a beautiful day in sim to go racing, and so far there's been some chaos. There's been a little hecticness, but it's been rather clean up to this point as we'll try to restart this race. Parker White quick on the gas and clear by a couple of car lengths to Austin Dorn. We're back under green in the Matrix Design Southern 200. Quick getaway out of the 095. They have settled for second on Mac as well. Austin Doran, no change for him in this case. He'll stay in second. Garrett White and Hunter Collier will follow through just behind in that train of cars through third and fourth. Maybe a battle here going into turn 1. That is Ethan Workman just behind the 56 of Mason Sweet. So we may have indeed a battle between these two. Ethan Workman started pretty far deep in the field. He started back in 26 and has done a great job to move up through the field. We talked about Quentin Haley starting 32nd and dead last tonight. Ethan Workman also with a lot of progress here and no doubt a lot of speed. We've seen him in contention for wins before. You can recall Atlanta Motor Speedway being one of his opportunities to take a checkered flag away. And right now with a lot of pace this time, faster than Mason Sweet. And to try to take advantage here going into 1 and 2 and maybe make this move into 3 and 4. That's one thing though that you have to take note about here at this Darlington Raceway is that a lot of the passes are not complete in the corners. They're complete on the straightaways. So most of the time you'll see drivers hit the reset button if they try to go inside on a corner. They'll back off. They'll try to get the momentum out of the exit. And then when they try to make that pass, they don't make it on the inside. They don't make it on the outside. They make it on the straightaways going into the corners. So in turn 1, especially when you have the inside, just like there you saw with the 97 of Caden Riff on TJ Lear in the 960, you just dive it to the bottom, hope it sticks, and then be able to make the pass, especially if you've got the nose out front. And then in 3 and 4, a lot more of an opportunity to make a dive because there's a lot more lanes you can utilize from the very bottom to the very top. You see right there the 9 and the 44 doing just that in the last corners here to get to the start-finish line. And then as soon as you get the exit out of the corner, you can try again for turns 1 and 2. That seems exactly the plan for playoff driver Timmy Spatz, who's trying to get around other playoff driver in Ryan Martin. As Josh Patterson strikes the outside wall just in front of him, Ryan Martin was able to check up just in time. Here's an onboard look from Spatz. This is a constant battle between 11th on behind. Just being really quick there on the throttle out of the corner, but just trying to be patient there in the middle of it to make sure the car just does not step out. This track can eat your tires up in a matter of moments if you are a little bit too greedy with the race car early on. So you want to make sure that does not happen, especially in 3 and 4 where you're a lot slower and the car can easily step out its rear end. It can easily spin the rear tires, and then you just have a very bad time trying to get through the corner as Ryan Martin will slide up, give the opportunity for Timmy Spatz to get something here on the exit. Caden Riff just behind, trying to decide who he's going to help here in the case for turn 1. Timmy Spatz will dive it deep. Ryan Martin will take behind, and so Timmy Spatz now moves into P12. So everybody through a majority of the top 5 have all single filed out. We mentioned potential battle there between Ethan Workman and Mason Sweet. That has since gone to the favor of Workman. He's moved into 5th. Mason Sweet lost another spot here. The driver you're on board with right now, that is Jeremy Lapinus in the number 64. And the 64 car with a great move to the front of the field as well. They're starting pretty deep in it. And Lapinus will also move past Sweet. He's made the pass complete. Now he's trying to work on the 25 just in front of him for what is going to be P5 at the moment. Meanwhile, battle for the lead not existing up until maybe now. Caution flag is out once again. A lap 39 of 40, or 95 rather. Now a lap 40 of 95 as looks like TJ Lear involved in the incident. And his colorful Chevrolet Camaro now with heavy front end damage and maybe some engine damage along with it. You see the smoke billowing out of the rear end. We'll take a look as TJ Lair was just behind Ryan Martin. We saw him trying to make a pass potentially for position there. This was going into turn 1. There's Ryan Martin, and not sure whether Ryan Martin had anything to do with this or whether Lair just got a little bit too high there out of the corner and just struck the outside wall. Actually, no, it got into Ryan Martin, the playoff driver. Coming out of the corner, it looked like maybe Ryan Martin was just a little bit too high on the racetrack, decided to slow down. And then Lair just could not react in time and just goes hard into the inside safer barrier. Martin, I believe, was able to save it for the most part. You see him there dodging to the inside of the racetrack to make sure he can stay out of harm's way. Oh, that was very treacherous there for another playoff driver. Here's on board with the driver of the 9. There's nothing Ryan Martin can do there as he moved up, trying to slow down to avoid hitting the wall. And then Lair just got directly into him and brings out, once again, another yellow as Martin and a handful of patrons, many of them playoff drivers, on pit road once again. There is your leader, Parker White. He will continue to stay out. This is a more than 20-lap run for a majority of the leaders, so very interesting to see a lot of them decide to stay out here, especially given the fact that we've seen Parker White already decide to hop onto the clutch many times on end throughout the evening. And so we'll have to continue to find that out, whether they can make it to the end or whether they're just trying to split this race into halves, because we already are around the halfway mark here tonight in this Matrix Designs Southern 200. And telemetry tells us we'll probably go another half hour if we stay green from here on throughout. So we'll get, I believe, the 2 to green signal here from the pace car. There's Ryan Martin, Shane Fuller, handful of others. That's Shane Mulder in the 51. A lot of playoff drivers that have gotten into some sort of trouble tonight. It's been a tough route for them. Luckily, they've still got cars that can still compete here in this race. There's Quentin Haley on pit road. TJ Lair looks like his night may be officially over. He's already gone 1 lap down. He is 26. Also to note for the drivers who have put it behind the garage, Glenn Bundren being one of them. A great opening jump for him, but he is 28 now, 21 and counting laps down. Kevin White Jr. got involved in the incident off of turn 4 recently. In this event, he is 29, 22 laps down. Sartaj Maan, we saw him pull down on pit road after a hard hit to the outside wall in the early segment of tonight's event. He is 33 laps down in P30. Henry Clapper, Mitch Hobbs, the final drivers to pull it behind the garage tonight. They are 31st and 32nd. So that is your full field of drivers who are DNF tonight. Hopefully we don't see any more. TJ Lair gonna maybe be one of them if he does pull it behind the wall. But as for the moment, he is still trying to stick out the time on pit road in order to get back out there and still put up a solid race. So it looks like 1 to green here on the iRacing official pace truck. Indeed, we will go green with 43 laps complete. 44 will be the current lap target we'll hit when we cross the start-finish line. Of course, there's still a long way to go, around halfway here in this Matrix Design Southern 200. And while we're already pretty much halfway, we'll take a look at your current race summary, which is, of course, brought to you by Supermix. Your current leader is Parker White in the number 095, saying Austin Doran because he knows that ahead at the start-finish line when we got the 1 to green signal. But it is Parker White. There you go in the timing loop. Parker White is your race leader. We've completed 42, going to complete 43 laps out of the 95 with a total of 52 laps remaining by the time we get the green flag from Barney the Flagman. We've had a total of 3 lead changes, not a lot of movement through the front of the field. We've seen this car, the 095, be the most dominant up until this point. We've had a total of 3 cautions for a total of 10 laps. That's your race summary tonight, presented to us by Supermix. So Pace Truck makes its move down to the inside to pit road. Parker White, Austin Doran have been the class of the field so far. Parker White being the most dominant. He'll step down dirt track style. We're back under green from Darlington. As Parker White does not pull away as quickly as he did last time by. Garrett White makes the pass complete for third, so he'll surge ahead of the 98 as they went side by side going into turn 1. Majority of the field all single file, none of them wanting to make any moves. Maybe here as Caden Riff looks to the inside of Jeremy Lapinus. That is a pass for what is going to be P8 on the racetrack. He'll duck behind the 64, not going to make the move just yet. And then a plethora of playoff drivers just behind him. Josh Patterson, there's Gino Merrill, there is Mason Sweet, the 56. Now here comes Riff to the inside, not enough to get to the quarter panel of Lapinus. That's going to open the door here for Patterson. And as Lapinus hits the outside wall, Patterson, Sweet, Merrill go by. It's some extra points for them. Lapinus falling deep within the top 15. Now he falls just shy. There's Christian Visconti to the inside. That was, I believe, Brandon Sampson who made that pass complete in the all matte black Chevrolet Camaro. And it just continues to be an absolute dogfight around the middle of the field. And I mentioned tonight, full 32 car field. That does mean for all the orange banner cars, it's a lot more points at stake, especially for Patterson, Sweet, and Merrill. They have a lot on the line. Of course, Patterson, a lot to lose as their current playoff points leader. Merrill and Sweet trying to take advantage of this opportunity, and by working their way through the field along with Patterson as he opens the door for them to go by, it only evens out the point standings between them two as Patterson slides way out of turn 2. You can see the car sideways as soon as he was putting the gas in. He'll stay in front. That is Lucas Lyons and a handful of others just in front. There's playoff driver Timmy Spat, so there's another target they have to look forward to as he makes the pass complete for 5th. And the drama building up around the whole field as we try to stay green through the second half of this race. So I think they continue to fight around those lines now, falling out of the battle here for what is the entrance into the top 10. It looks like, for the moment, when Sweet, Patterson, and Merrill are all together, they seem to be very quick on the track. And just a testament to how much they don't want to give up. There's Brandon Sampson who goes by. Sampson with a great one tonight. And Lyons just stuck on the top side. He got absolutely freight trained. And he has fallen from inside the top 10 to just outside of it. P12 going into turn 3. And now here's another pass to the very bottom. I think this is just a testament also of fresh tires for a majority of them. There's Gino Merrill getting a big block there in the front of his windshield. That was Josh Patterson to make sure he didn't go by. And I mentioned 3 playoff drivers trying to stay within each other's grasp. Merrill trying to overcome your playoff leader. A very treacherous spot there out of turn 2 underneath Ethan Workman. Merrill going to be able to make the pass. There's Sampson just behind to give support. And as it got very risky there, going into 3 and 4, Patterson is able to hold his ground. But they are allowing Mason Sweet to pull away. He is now up to 4th on the freshest tires of the field. I mentioned that a majority of the front runners, now around 30 laps on their stint, they have not decided to pit ever since the first time they went in for service. And Mason Sweet, a majority of the other playoff drivers using this opportunity to take the risk, go for fresh tires, and ultimately destroy the competition. That's what they're doing right now, setting laps almost a full 10th faster than some of the competition in this field tonight. And it is only getting harder for everybody to start to defend. Here's on board with Hunter Collier, orange banner car with Patterson to his inside, moving into 1 and 2. Just gonna back off there, and into the outside wall goes Collier. He's gonna be able to keep the car straight. That's a big hit to the right side of the Toyota Supra. And so he'll fall just behind Christian Visconti. That is a pivotal move for point standings, though, for all of them at this point. And so Patterson will move into 5th. Mason Sweet has pretty much weaved through the field up to 4th. And he's got a large gap all the way to Garrett White in 3rd. Mason Sweet with the Spam colors tonight. We talked about it in qualifying. And although it's been an eye-popping paint scheme to say the least, it's been blazing with speed. There is Patterson. That's the distance between himself and the 56. And the amount of cars that he's trying to bring with him in the form of Mero, Sampson, and Christian Visconti. And while Hunter Collier fell out of the battle, he's now back to 9th. And may even have to play even more defense on Ethan Workman, Lucas Lyons. There's Timmy Spatz, Shane Fuller. And as Workman dodges the nose to the bottom, he's going to try and sail it through 3 and 4 to make this pass complete. And for Collier, this is a lot of lost ground after what was a slight advantage here as we approach 40 laps to go. So there is Workman, inside pass. Timmy Spatz, Shane Fuller still dueling for position. Caden Riff just behind them back in P14. So he'll fall out for a moment. They'll try and settle themselves out as majority of the field really pretty much 15th on back have not really made too much progress. There's Pierce Maffitt, who we saw go into the wall a little bit earlier tonight off of turns 3 and 4. Was able to pick it back up and down the 41 up to P15. So just trying to pick up what was lost there on the opening start of this race. So we've got our sediment into what is so far, I believe, the longest green flag run here tonight from Darlington. We'll take a look at exactly what else we have on the paint scheme catalog for us today. Of course, we've talked about many paint schemes, including that one just behind the 13 of Quentin Haley, that bright green and yellow waste management throwback scheme out of Jay Mulder. And then just behind him, the 999 of Steven Shipman. That's a Target throwback to the Chip Ganassi days of NASCAR racing. Unfortunately, they're not part of NASCAR racing anymore. It was sponsoring with Kyle Larson before their departure, I believe, after 2017. And so Steven Shipman now into 20th. One car, though, we have to point out, one of the meaningful paint schemes tonight. We talked about Josh Patterson, his quarter midget that he raced 10 years ago. He's using a throwback tonight for that paint scheme, the bright blue and red Toyota Supra. He's manning it tonight. How about your league owner, Brayson Collins, in the number 5 machine in 23rd? Not the best of nights for this driver right here. He is a playoff competitor, so he is running for the championship. And has not had the greatest of nights here from this track. But this throwback definitely means a lot to him. Said, my throwback dedicated to one of my Uncle Randy's old cars. The same colors, the red, white, and blue paint scheme. He said his Uncle Randy unfortunately passed away in November at a sudden accident. But it's one of his racing heroes, and this is a way to keep that spirit alive. Brayson Collins with a gorgeous paint scheme tonight from Darlington. Of course, condolences, our prayers to Collins' family with Uncle Randy, but nonetheless, still living on as an iconic paint scheme, and Brayson Collins trying to do him proud as he currently runs 23rd. So Collins all by himself on the racetrack. You can say the same in terms of the league that Parker White is in your race leader. He will approach 35 laps to go here tonight from Darlington. That was DJ Powell just behind him, a lap car getting around, so no problems there. Not a lot of lap traffic here in this race up to the moment. And then Mason Sweet has followed through behind. He is trying to chip in. He has since moved himself to second, so he did get around Austin Doran and Garrett White. and just has not been quick enough to get to the 095. Josh Patterson and Gino Merrill have since split around. Josh Patterson has stayed in 5th. Meanwhile, Merrill has fallen, I believe, 2 spots shy, and he's now in P8 as Christian Visconti is going to try to take one away here from Patterson just inside the top 5. That is for 5th. They'll both go side by side here in the 3 and 4. So this is the slight quartet of race cars from Patterson all the way to Gino Merrill, 5th through 8th. And you have to go a couple of seconds back between Gino Merrill and what is 9th place, Ethan Workman so far in the top 10. Shane Fuller, the last driver, capping off the drivers within the first double-digit positions. So the 57 will try to get an advantage here in the 3 and 4, maybe build something for 1 and 2, as the playoff driver will look to gain another point. So at this point, Mason Sweet has been the only one to sort of chip in on the race leader here at this point of the race. Parker White and a majority of the field have yet to pit. They've gone a full 43 laps on their stint, maybe anticipating another yellow to come out. But the tires have certainly felt the worst up to this point. We see one car down pit road, and now we have to ask whether the drivers in the lead pack have to come down, and whether that's the same case for Mason Sweet and a handful of others. I think our answer just came in the form of Garrett White. There's Austin Doran. The answer is yes. Gonna have to pit before this race is done. And so Doran and White are gonna come down for service. Mason Sweet and all the fresh tire cars are all gonna stay out 23 laps into their stint. We gotta wonder whether they can make it all the way to the checkered flag as well. And as Parker White hops on the brakes, I believe he is taking the call to pit road. Indeed he has. So Parker White down pit road. Mason Sweet, your new race leader. So Parker will go into the very shallow pit road speed limit. That'll now move Mason Sweet, Christian Visconti, and Josh Patterson into your top 3. Maybe not for long for 3rd. As Brandon Sampson will try to doze into the inside. He'll do so with grace. He'll do so with elegance, and he'll make this pass as Patterson will look for the crossover here to turn 4. Not going to be able to complete it. He'll tuck back in, going to turn 1. There's Ethan Workman, next driver in on pit road. Just slowing down, making sure he can get the advantage as much as he can. That's a little kink of the pit wall there before you get to all the stalls. And it's all about whether Workman can find his stall, get onto the brakes as efficiently as possible, and then, of course, try to rock it out on the exit without speeding. And here at Darlington, it is one of the tougher pit road entrances of really all of the NASCAR season. We've talked about Kansas, Las Vegas, maybe Homestead, Miami being very treacherous spots on the racetrack, especially when you come out of turn 4, going into the brakes, going into the pit stall, and having to slow down from about 175-ish miles per hour all the way to what is usually 55, 45 miles per hour, depending on the racetrack. But here at Darlington, you get no benchmark, you get no reference as to really where pit road is, because it is all the way so far on the inside of the racetrack. As you'll take a look here with Parker White. So that right there, that yellow line is the entrance to pit road. You got to catch that yellow line and that little cone there up ahead of you to make sure you can hop on the brakes and enter pit road. That is also while turning, so you're not making a straight shot in on the brakes like you would at, let's say, Daytona or Talladega. You're turning at the same time that you're trying to slow the car down. So we've seen a lot of lockups. We've seen a lot of missing of pit road. We've also seen, in some cases, many competitors hitting the attenuators there just before you get to the pit road wall. It's just a bad spot to get in if you mess up. And so for them, at least for a majority of the drivers on pit road, they've done so with excellence, and they've done so without any sort of major mistakes to take them out of contention. So here is your race leader. That's Pierce Maffei going around to unlap himself. Mason Sweet, your race leader. Currently now working on, I'd say, lap 28, coming to lap 30 of his stint. And now here comes Sweet to pit road. So all of a sudden, your race leader, we questioned whether he was going to come in. There's the 52 just behind him. I think we now know the answer. They do have to pit one more time before the race is done. There's Brandon Sampson on pit road just behind. Looks like Christian Visconti and Gino Merrill will stay out. Same deal for Josh Patterson. And now this is all whether they will allow the likes of Parker White and Austin Doran to creep back into the race lead. They pitted a little bit earlier, so they've got fresher tires right now but they need to make sure they can not waste any time on pit road depending on who is coming down. Christian Visconti, top 3, not going to come in this time by. Looks like Lucas Lyons is the next one to move into 3 and 4. We'll still find out whether he will dodge in. Answer looks like will be no. Jay Mulder is now next on the block for the top 5. And there's Mason Sweet now coming out of pit road, trying to merge back with the field. That's Logan Pugh, playoff driver, that just moved in front. And Mason Sweet will cycle out in 11th. So Parker White, should the top 8 come down pit road, he will be your race leader. But it's just all about whether these guys will stay out. And it looks like it'll probably be no. They can't really go all the way in. That's why we've seen a lot of drivers trying to save fuel. May not be the best option here to try and go the distance, especially given the amount of laps left. We're coming in at about 20 laps here for the virtual Darlington Raceway. And speaking of pit road, here comes Gino Merrill, the first one out of the top 3 to strike. Quick entrance, a little bobble there out of the Ford Mustang, but Merrill, your Las Vegas winner, able to get in without any problems. There's Austin Dorn, who I believe is trying to one-lap himself. He is in 9th. And so on the fresh tires, gonna get real close to the quarter panel of the 80, but he will make this pass complete. Visconti will start to follow through, and he will not look for pit road this time. Neither, it appears, will be Josh Patterson. Lucas Lyons still yet to get to 3 and 4. There's Merrill there, stopping on pit road. He'll fall back. Parker White, who pitted first out of the group, at least for the ones around him, he's now into the top 5 and trying to look to see if Jay Mulder and company will come down pit road anytime soon. So that should relinquish the lead, at least for Christian Visconti's case. Parker White should be the next race leader when the top 5 do come down pit road. It's just a matter of when they will pit that'll matter the most, because it is starting to cram in. Parker White on the freshest tires. He's a lot of seconds, almost half a track behind your race leader. But the thing is, Visconti cannot afford any wasted time on the entrance, and he wasted time through the stall, and then he wasted time trying to merge back out of turn 2. That's going to be the biggest problem here. He will have fresher tires, so he will have an advantage here on the 095. It's just about how he can time the placement. It's very crucial here on a long green flag run. You ride on board here with Josh Patterson. That's Timmy Spatz, playoff driver, and Mason Sweet trying to one-lap themselves around. And Patterson not looking for pit road just yet. 20 laps ago here from the virtual Darlington Raceway as we continue the Matrix Designs Southern 200. We'll take a short side-by-side break, but you won't miss a thing. Christian Visconti, your race leader. We'll see if he comes down pit road. final 15 laps in this Matrix Design Southern 200. Christian Visconti, after pitting from the lead, you saw it there on the left side of your screen, tapped the pit road barrels going in to his lane. You right on board here. This was Visconti. We had a question how long it was going to take before he would come down for his final stop tonight. And that's exactly what I talked about. The problem here for the 80, trying to brake, trying to turn, trying to find where pit road is. And as soon as he gets there, just too little, too late. And as Patterson goes by, that is a pass for position technically on the track. Christian Visconti in a heap of trouble as he tries to merge out from turn 2. So that will give the lead to Parker White in the 095. Holds the lead by about 5 seconds over Austin Dorn in the 55 car. There's Hunter Collier, driver about to get lapped. We currently have only 10 cars, now 9, this time by on the lead lap of the race. And for Christian Visconti, that may have done it for him. Josh Patterson, who we saw come down not too long ago, he has fallen to 10th. He has since merged back with the leaders. He's going to try to unlap himself in the final 13. But it only becomes increasingly harder when the laps start to wind down and the grains of sand start to fall to the very bottom of the hourglass. So it's 5.6 seconds between White and Dorn. Dorn a slight advantage over Garrett White in the 26, who now crosses the start-finish line. Mason Sweet has solidified himself into P4 with a chance to potentially catch up to the 56. Brandon Sampson, after an up-and-down race, started back in 30th, and now he's into the top 5, so a great run out of the 996 and his matte black Chevrolet Camaro. Gino Merrill, we saw him kind of falling off on the long run. He is now P6. Ethan Workman, Shane Fuller, Hunter Collier, Josh Patterson, your top 10. Again, as I mentioned, Collier, the first driver now, 1 lap down, will be the lucky dog in case we get a yellow. But that pit stop obviously didn't help Visconti. He was trying to look for his 3rd race win this season. And it's the same deal for the top 2 right now. Parker White, remember, got the win earlier in the campaign at the Phoenix Raceway, dominated the last leg of that event. Went to Road America and Elkhart Lake, Wisconsin, was able to do the same. Austin Doron had picked up his first win at Irwindale and then just could not let off the gas. Was able to finish well at Road America the week after, then grab another win in Indianapolis in a dramatic last lap sequence. And a caution now comes out. There's a wreck right in front of the leaders. That's Quentin Haley in the 13, who goes around, has just made a trip down a pit road, immediately towed the race car. And this will be the big equalizer for everyone. Yellow flag waves with about 10 laps to go in this Matrix Design Southern 200. Here's a look at what happened to Haley. It happened out of turn 2. And it was contact with playoff driver Hunter Collier. You mentioned Collier. He would have gotten the lucky dog. Was in the top 10. There's Patterson making the pass. That would have been for the lucky dog right there. And then as they go side by side, Haley moves up the track. Collier tries to check up to avoid hitting the safety barrier. And then it just becomes a huge mess out of turn 2. Ryan Martin, really the 3rd car there, did not get involved, barely escaped. Complete catastrophe. Here's on board with the 9. You'll see the 13 slide up. You see the contact is made. They immediately hit the wall. And while Martin does hit the wall along with them, does a great job of slowing the race car down, making sure he can get out of harm's way. And Quentin Haley, Hunter Collier in a heap of trouble near the end of this race from Darlington. So Parker White's lead, which used to be 5.5 seconds and growing, has now crunched down to a mere 0. Austin Doron will be to his outside by the time we go back green. There's a bunch of lap cars between the two. There you can see the black and red Camaro just on the far right side of your screen. And so White will have to execute here in the final laps. And we don't even know if green-white checkered territory could be on the horizon. We've seen this happen before. Many late race yellows resulting in cautions getting bred over the course of short runs. And then brings out more yellows, checks up the field even further, wastes more time on the lap counter. And then we just have to resort to overtime in order to get a winner out of it all. We saw late race restarts happen at Volusia just 1 week ago, and I know that was a dirt race. I know it was a wild card event, but it can still be parallel to any other race on the calendar, any oval race on the service, and this one not being any different for the playoff opener, the WORC Dynamo Designs National Series. So, looks like nobody amongst the top rung leaders are going to come down for service. Looks like track position will matter more in this case. And so Parker White will hold control of the lead. Austin Duran will follow through outside in P2. Garrett White, your third place driver in the point standings. He is third on the restart. Mason Sweet, also with the orange banner on his Chevrolet Camaro. He is fourth. Brandon Sampson started from 30th. He's into the top 5. Gino Merrill will be 6th. Shane Fuller 7th. Ethan Workman in 8th. 9th to Josh Patterson. And then rounding out the top 10 is Christian Visconti, who is 1 lap down. So as Patterson hits pit road, he figures it's going to be worth it to take the risk. He's the last car on the lead lap, so it won't matter what Visconti does here. He will stay a lap down. Patterson will remain the final car on the lead lap. And why not take some fresh rubber, maybe some fuel, a splash maybe to get to the end and to the checkered flag. So 1 to green gets displayed on the iRacing official pace truck. We will go green with exactly 6 laps to go in this Matrix Designs Southern 200. And just a reminder, if you want to know who's in contention for the playoffs, here they are. This is going into tonight. Among some of the runners you'll see within this top 10, Mason Sweet, who pointed his way in P14. Garrett White, who is third in the point standings. Gino Merrill, who is second. Shane Fuller in 7th. And then everybody else, Josh Patterson, all the way back through P9. He's the final driver on the lead lap, a part of the run for the title. So Pace Truck will make its trip down to pit road for what could be the final time here in this Matrix Designs Southern 200 from Darlington Raceway. It's Parker White, the 95, Austin Duran, the 55, the Toyota Supra, and the Chevrolet Camaro to bring us back to green with only a handful of laps to go. Pace Truck made its way down. A great jump out of the 095. Not as good of a run there for Austin Duran. Garrett White to the inside. Parker White clears by at least a second at turn 1. Can't doubt the skill out of Parker White as a caution comes out once again. And it may have been Nick Penna in the 52, a Tony Stewart, black and orange Home Depot throwback. And the turn 4 graphics, Ford Mustang in trouble, as we will once again rest under yellow, where we may end up in overtime situation. Take a look at the replay here. This was on the restart, checking up dramatically. That's Caden Riff in front. Looks like he sent the block in the 52, just got out of shape, wiggled the car before officially getting it around, and then hitting the inside wall. He seems to be the only one involved, as Parney the flagman was a little bit too late there on the yellow. And then by the time they got to the back straightaway, there were the yellow lights. And of course, Parker and everybody else slowing down for another caution flag. So I talked about it, just a possibility of green and white checkers when you have late race yellows, and when you bring the field together in an opportunistic avenue where positions are going to matter, especially for the playoffs. Points are going to matter going into Bristol 1 week from tonight. And so the worry is not really on Parker White. It's really on everybody second on back, because I mentioned a handful of playoff drivers that are there. Garrett White, Austin Duran, rather not Austin Duran, Mason Sweet, Gino Merrill, Shane Fuller, Josh Patterson. Timmy Spatz is also around this group as well. And while we did have that caution, I believe it will bring Christian Visconti on the lead lap. He's not a playoff driver, but after hitting the pit road barrels, it could be good to have at least a top 10 to end this one tonight. And so that's the focus here for the final, what's going to be 3 laps here from Darlington. And Garrett White, that could have been the move of the race to give him the points lead Because right now, if you look at it to this point, drivers up at the front, majority of them non-playoff drivers. Parker White, of course, he's won 2 races this season, but it wouldn't hurt to get a third for him. Doesn't matter if he ends up going to victory lane because he is not, in the grand scheme of things, involved in the championship. Garrett White, of course, a lot to lose here if he falls out of the top 2 because a lot of the orange banner cars could take this away if he falls short. Austin Dorn, also not a playoff driver, just a little bit too late to the season. He's got 2 wins on the campaign, so even if he surges ahead and wins this race ahead of Parker White, obviously it won't matter. We'll have no say in the point standings. It will only matter if Garrett White is in the clutches of Mason Sweet, Gino Merrill, Shane Fuller, and Josh Patterson. Brandon Sampson, this car was started back in 30th in the 996. He is also not a case for the championship either, not a driver running for the title. So ultimately, if he moves up to the field, it obviously won't make a big case. I think the biggest concern with non-playoff drivers is just their placement and how the point standings will shuffle. Because of course, I mentioned tonight, 32 cars, a very large field. Any pass for position is an extra point given to you when you finish this race. So if White falls to 3rd, if he ends up in 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th, 8th, 9th, 10th, through all the drivers that are still left on the lead lap, the points will be lost. There will be a difference depending on how many cars he falls behind. And of course, where Sweet, Merrill, Fuller, Patterson, all those guys, wherever they end up finishing, that's going to matter a lot in the case of White and what he can do to secure the points lead going into Bristol. And obviously, this is the first step, so this is not clear cut of who's going to make it to the next round and the round after that. But to start your race here, to start your playoff momentum at a track as hard as this, could only give you more momentum going into Bristol and the other tracks that we're going to see over the course of the playoffs. So we are sure to get the 1 to green signal from the iRacing official pace truck. Indeed we do. So we'll go one more time before we go green flag racing. We'll run down the top 10 for you just once more. Parker White, your current race leader. He'll have Garrett White, well, it looks to be to his inside. I think Parker White is... Actually, no, they'll be single file, so it doesn't matter what row they're going to be in. Garrett White's going to be in 2nd. Austin Dorn will be in 3rd. Mason Sweet will follow through in 4th. Brandon Sampson trying to be the hardest charger tonight. He is currently wrapped up the top 5. Gino Merrill is in P6. Shane Fuller is 7th. Ethan Workman is 8th. 9th will go to Josh Patterson. And Christian Visconti, who just got the wave around that last caution, he is now 10th. Everybody from 11th on back, Jay Mulder on behind, have no chance to get into the top 10 unless more yellows come out, in which case the 11th place car right now sits Jay Mulder, will be the wave around car. They'll be able to get back on the lead lap. So that's it for the drivers competing for this win tonight in the Matrix Designs Southern 200 pace car. To the entrance of pit road, Parker White, your leader. He's been great on restarts all race long, and he's going to try to follow through and do the same again. This time, 2 laps to go from Darlington. .095 clear coming out at turn 2. Majority of the field have already separated themselves, some side by side. There's Patterson inside on Ethan Workman, not going to make the pass yet. Garrett White tries to hold off a hard-charging Austin Dorn and company. Parker White takes the white flag in the Matrix Designs Southern 200. One more trip for the .095. And after what was a dominating short track win, a dominating road course adventure now turns in next to a dominating stretch here at Darlington. Garrett White tries to hold on for second amongst the rest of the playoff competition, but it will be a trifecta for the .095. Parker White brings the Toyota Supra to victory lane for the 3rd time this season. No change from about 1st through 5th. Brandon Sampson, I think, is the only switch around. He fell back to 6th. Gino Merrill adds 1 more spot to his resume in the final laps. He wraps up the top 5. But Parker White in the .095 will head to victory lane once more in 2022. Talk about how dominating the .095 of Parker White has been. He'll burn it down and bring us our winning moment. But you look at the path that Parker White has taken so far. You think of the Bungeon Lawn Care Series where he could not grasp a win, no matter how hard he tried. With bad luck, striking him at every turn. And it has turned into a driver who's blossomed into one of the best on the sim racing service, running for Road to Pro this year. And Parker White becomes your winner here from the virtual Darlington Raceway. So as we try and wrap up, we'll give you your top results, see exactly where every driver finished at the end of 96 laps. An extra overtime finish. We add a +1 to the tally on our lap counter. Parker White dominates the majority of this race to win. It's his third W this season in 2022. Garrett White is able to hold on, and looks like your points leader will be the 26 by the time we head to Bristol 1 week from tonight. He'll be P2. Austin Doran will be third. A great result for all three. We'll talk to them in just a couple of moments. Mason Sweet, playoff driver, holds on for P4, and Gino Mero adds +1 on the restart. He was 6 on the restart. He was able to get over Brandon Sampson for the top 5. Sampson, though, falls back. Still a hard-charging effort for the 996 in P6 at the end of it all. Ethan Workman in the 25, a very great run for that Chevrolet Camaro. Showed a lot of speed here tonight from Darlington. He is 7th. Shane Fuller, another playoff driver, he falls in 8th. Josh Patterson tried to make the moves in the final laps, just could not get as many as he wanted to. He is P9 at the end of it. Christian Visconti, the last driver who got the wave around for the lead lap, he wraps up your top 10. Everybody else here from 11th on back will be 1 lap down or more. Jay Mulder, playoff driver, struggled a little bit earlier on, got involved in a crash in the midst of the race, but he is 11th at the start-finish line to end. Caden Riff, surprisingly enough, a great run from the 97. We have really never seen his name in WORC Dynamo Design's National Series competition before, but still a great run out of the 97. We'll be happy with his P12 tonight. Timmy Spatz, a little bit of up and down day, but he is 13th at the end. Brayson Collins found a way to muster back some of the struggles that he experienced in the first half of this event. He is 14th, 2 laps down. Ryan Martin, a great run for him, but not enough to get into the top 10. He is top 15. Eligible, though, 2 laps down. Steven Shipman in the 999 will be 16th. Connor Hervula will be 3 laps down in 17th. Jeremy Lapinus, despite some good charges here and there, some highlights for the 64. He is 18th. DJ Powell will be 19th. And Frederick Seagraves, playoff driver, rounds out the top 26 laps down. Hunter Collier is the first and only car 8 laps down tonight in 21st. Lucas Lyons is 22nd, 10 laps down. Nick Pena, who struggled fairly well tonight in 52, he is 23rd. Pierce Maffitt, also not a great race for the 41. Unfortunately, he is 24th by the time we get to the checkered flag. TJ Lair in the 960 will wrap up the top 25, followed by Quentin Haley, Logan Pugh, Glenn Bundren, Kevin White Jr., and Sartaj Mon. Everybody from Glenn Bundren on down, all DNF'd throughout at least halfway through this race. Henry Clapper and Mitch Hobbs are the final drivers in this grid tonight from Darlington, South Carolina. So as we try and wrap up what was an exciting afternoon and evening going into the nightfall here from the virtual Darlington Raceway, we will have a moment to talk with our race winner, Parker White, in the 095, getting to victory lane for the 3rd time this season. Parker, it looked like from the jump, you just had the speed all throughout. You were able to jump on the rest of the field on the restarts, no matter what happened, stop and go, rhythm the racing. You had it all. Give us your experience about what this car was like to drive and ultimately how you feel about your performance in this win.
Yeah, it was a very fun setup to drive right from the start. It was pretty loose too, which I was kind of surprised because of the fuel fill, but we had a couple of yellows, which I couldn't decide when to pit, so I just kind of went when we got that little run there at the beginning. Then I think like 2 or so stayed out or didn't take tires, but I know there's way more back in the field that didn't even take tires. So I had to just get around Mason on that restart there. Then from there, I think we had a decently sized run. Then eventually we got to green flag stops. And about that, the guys that had pitted the previous caution could go longer than us because we had like half the amount of gas that they did. So we had to pit early. I think they just kind of reacted to us and then just pit after us. So luckily, I was the one that benefited from that. I got a really good pit entrance and exit, so I pulled Austin by, I think, like 4 or so seconds with pit road, and then it went green. Then right there, it was just kind of scary dodging all the lap cars because most of them were still on old tires, and I was still on new tires, so I had to get around all them. And then we got a yellow. Then from there, I knew that I could just cool the tires down under that caution, and then everyone else I think Mason was put on like lap 69, so he was on like 5 lap pressure tires than me. So I knew from there I wouldn't really have to worry about it because we had all just cooled the tires down and basically just reset. So just had to hit my marks on the restart, and that's how I got the win.
You're able to knock all of them down, all the laps, and we go +1 on the lap counter for lap 96, and you're the one leading at the end of it all. Give us more of a perspective about the green flag pit stops. Of course, very interesting in the case that guys like Mason Sweet, Josh Patterson, a handful of others, they had fresher tires than you and a majority of the leaders. Were there any growing concerns that you had behind the wheel on the pit stop strategy and how that was going to shake out, or did you have the plan in your head already from the jump?
I planned to pit on like lap 69 from that restart, but the issue was, like I said, we didn't pit under that caution because the amount of tire sets we had, because we would have been out there, and then when we would have pit under green, then we wouldn't have been able to take tires. So I couldn't even split that run in half. I had to pit like 5 laps before halfway, which Mason did pit at halfway at lap 69. And I put on lap 64. And really the only thing I was concerned about was a caution coming out right in the middle of pit cycles. And then I would have chopped a lap down. Then I'd probably just leave the race from that point, because then they would just pit, get fresh tires, and I'd be stuck in the back with old tires.
You know what, if the plan was to lap 69, say that was a very nice plan, but I'll see myself at the window. That's not a great joke whatsoever. But, Parker, you've won 3 races this season. You picked up your first at Phoenix earlier on in the year. You moved in. You doubled down with a road course win at Road America. You get sort of a short track intermediate style. I'd say a mesh between the two here at Darlington. Are there any more tracks you're planning to knock down? Because it looks like you're getting pretty much group of every single type of track that you've won at so far this season.
I'm not sure. I think like Bristol or something is next week, so I might go to there. It's never really been one of my favorite tracks, but every time I race it, I seem to have some fun. So I might do it, and especially with the way the iRacing has updated it, since you can run the bottom now and not lose so much time. So I don't know. I'm actually, no, I can't race next week because of Road to Pro, but I don't know. We'll see what the schedule's like.
Of course, Road to Pro on your mind, going to the Coke Series, obviously wishing you the best of luck on that front. But on behalf of this win here at the Darlington Raceway in the WORC Dynamo Designs National Series, anybody you want to thank for making this all possible?
Yeah, I just got to thank you, Kenneth, for the broadcast. Just Brayson, Collins, everyone, admins at WORC for letting us race here. North Source Racing, SRD, and that's about it.
Well, we certainly appreciate the time, Parker. Again, wishing you the best of luck on your route to the Coke Series in 2022. And on behalf of our team here from the Darlington Raceway, congratulations on the win here tonight. We look forward to seeing you within at least the next couple of weeks, and we'll see if you can knock down many of the tracks. We'll see. Congratulations, though, tonight.
All right, thank you.
That's Parker White, the 095, getting to victory lane for the 3rd time this season. A great run for that Toyota Supra. Not a runner for the championship this season, but the driver behind him is, and he's caught up right here with me on pit road, driver who finishes 2nd, Garrett White, in the 26. Garrett, I think for what it was worth, Darlington Raceway, a very tough racetrack. It looks like this finish at least went in your favor, and point standings should be in your favor by the time we get to Bristol next week.
Oh, yeah. Really happy with a 2nd place at Darlington. You know how chaotic it is. So yeah, can't complain with the 2nd. Always, it's unfortunate that I'm bridesmaid again to Parker. I finished 2nd to him at Phoenix, but like I said, 2nd's not bad.
Of course, 2nd still giving you a headway into the playoffs going 1 week from tonight at Bristol. But you said it, very chaotic. I think that was a word you could describe, at least from one point throughout this race, because it took a while for a majority of the field, including yourself, to kind of get into rhythm with what this track is about, especially in these race conditions. What seemed to be the toughest thing about running this track with the weather, and of course with the fact that you've got your playoffs situation in your mind as well?
Yeah, it's just in turn 1 and 2, making sure that you don't overcook the corner and slide up and get that famous Darlington stripe. I think that was the biggest key today. Also, working around the lap cars after we pitted under green flag, get around the lap cars that are on older tires. I think that was also a key role for today.
Well, was key on your way to success. You end up in P2 points. Got to look good going into the last great Coliseum, but if we're going to use chaotic to describe Darlington, then I don't know what word we're going to use for Bristol, because it gets shorter, it gets more crazier. What are your thoughts there to try and keep your playoff advantage 1 week from tonight?
Yeah, Bristol is once again a chaotic racetrack, so keeping that mindset of don't race the people around you, more more race to racetrack. That's going to be my approach for Bristol.
No doubt, a lot of momentum, of course, coming out of Darlington this evening. Before we let you go, Garrett, is there anybody you just want to thank for making this run and this race from Darlington possible?
Yeah, I'd like to thank our team, Whiteout Sim Racing, for giving me the opportunity to race this tonight.
Well, Garrett, a big congratulations on behalf of our team here at the KBueno Racing Network for a second place here from Darlington, South Carolina. And, of course, wishing you the best of luck throughout the playoffs as we continue 1 week from tonight at Bristol. We'll hope to see you there.
Oh, yep. Thank you.
That's Garrett White in the 26, comes home in P2 after starting P8. A great run for the Toyota Supra, who came in third in the point standings and should most likely come out of here with the points lead. We'll talk to another driver who is not in the running for the championship, but still a lot of momentum on the heels nonetheless. Austin Dorn in 55. Austin, I think a very great night for you overall. You started third, you finished third. It looked like you were up front all night long. What seemed to be the key for you that made you so successful here tonight?
Honestly, this was a big learning race for me because this is my first ever race at Darlington. So it was really good having Parker in front of me all race because I could just learn off him and see what lines he's running and see how slow he's going in the corners. So really, I just had that mentality all night just to keep it safe and keep it out of the wall as best I could.
And he kept the car remarkably clean for a track that likes to beat a lot of cars up. But in your case, I talked to Parker White with that a little bit earlier. It was the pit stops that happened a little bit later on the race before the late race yellows, where at that point you guys didn't really have to worry about making it to the very end. What seemed to be your motive in that final stretch of laps where you guys were staying green, where the tires were wearing out, and where you had a decision, along with Parker White and a lot of the other leaders, to come down while Mason Sweet, Josh Patterson, and drivers behind you were charging on fresh rubber?
Yeah, that was a big strategy right there because I didn't know if I could make it on fuel or not because I heard Parker was saving fuel early in the race. So yeah, I didn't really know if I could make it or not, but I just decided to pit early and hopefully try to jump Parker or do something there. But yeah, it was interesting for sure.
So you've got 2 wins on the season, of course, tonight. Not quite there for the race win, but a lot of opportunities coming through for many of the tracks up ahead. Is there any tracks you're looking forward to? I know you're not running for the championship, so you're not going to be running for the title, but you're obviously going to be there for race wins. No, any tracks you're looking forward to in the next couple of weeks?
Yeah, there's a lot of interesting tracks for sure. It's really strange, but yeah, I'm looking forward to Talladega, and I don't know how Bristol will go, but we'll see. So
nonetheless, still a lot of momentum on your side. Austin, before we let you go here on this third place finish from Darlington, anybody you want to thank for making this run happen?
Yeah, I'd like to shout out KC Design Team for hopping on board, Stapleton Auto Works, the NASCAR Hotspot, URP, JJ Central, SC Graphics, and Liberty Mutual.
Well, Austin, I want to congratulate you on behalf of our team on the third place finish here tonight from Darlington, South Carolina. You get to walk away without the Darlington stripe, but Bristol's next week, so who knows what's going to happen, Austin. Congratulations, and we hope to see you at Bristol 1 week from tonight.
All right, thank you.
As Austin Dorn in the 55 to third place here at the end of this Matrix Designs Southern 200. So after a very up and down race, some parts of this race with many cautions, some of them with long green flag runs, we do have a winner, and it was the most dominant driver all night long, Parker White, taking his third win this season. We talked about the playoff implications, how that was going to matter after tonight, and it will change, no doubt, after here this race 96 laps. Garrett White most likely will have the points lead over Josh Patterson, Gino Mero, and the rest of the field. We'll find out 1 week from tonight how that will fare going into the last great Coliseum. That's a look at what it was going into tonight's race, and still a lot more to change over the course of the campaign as well. So that does it for our coverage of the Matrix Designs Southern 200 live from the virtual Darlington Raceway in Darlington, South Carolina. For everybody at the WORC Dynamo Designs National Series team for making this all possible, for league owner Brayson Collins, for everybody at the admin team for holding these races each and every week, and on behalf of all of us at the KBueno Racing Network, for Keelan Belshaw, for Francisco Bacchial, for Charlie Beyer, my name is Kenneth Bueno, up here in the broadcast booth saying good night from the track Too Tough to Tame. We finished the dance, the slow music starts, but all before it ramps up 1 week from tonight. Bristol, don't miss it, 7 p.m. Eastern, here on the KBueno Racing Network as the playoffs continue.